So you want to buy real estate. Maybe it's investment property. Maybe it is your first time home. Heck, maybe you are a move up buyer. The question I am getting time and time again is, should I wait for rates to drop? Well, we're going to have this conversation with the one and only Casey from Brick by Brick Wealth. Casey, I'm sure you are hearing from friends, family, coaching students about, heck, I'm not going to touch real estate until rates drop. So what do you think? Should people wait for rates to fall?
No, that would be the biggest mistake, I think, to wait for rates to fall. I have been hearing this from people for several months. Rates are going to drop. Rates are going to drop. I'm going to wait. There's too much uncertainty in the market. And even in last fall, who's going to be president? We don't know. I'm going to wait. It's always, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. Whenever you feel like the economy and everything's doing wonderful, that is the worst time to buy because there's tons of competition. Prices are high. So I feel like people make the most money when other people are scared, when other people are pulling back. That is the risk level. And it's not even a high risk level. That's the risk that people should be taking. So should you wait for interest rates to drop? No way, Jose. They promised rate drops a couple years ago. Was it 2 years ago now? I remember, not last year, the year before. Rates are going to drop. They didn't drop. They went even higher. They got to 7-8%. They didn't drop. And all those people missed those prices because when prices do drop, right, this is just economics 101, supply and demand. When rates do drop, prices are going to go up. People have been sitting on the sidelines for years since COVID to not buy. They're waiting now for these prices, these magical rates to drop back to where they used to be. Anything in the 6 or 5% range is going to be a run on the market, in my opinion. Prices are going to go through the roof, and we may see, offers over asking and waiving inspections and all those things all over again. So heck no to the no.
Yeah, it's funny you bring this up because, again, one of the transactions I did, actually, it's the property I'm talking to you from. We actually bought when rates were 8%, right? When the going mortgage rate for an owner-occ was 8%, we actually struck. Now, why did we do that? Well, the house I'm in, the buyer of it, it's a new build, backed out because rates were 8%. Guess what? The builder was somewhat stressed. They had this odd building on a community that was pretty much sold out, just that they still owned. And we were able to negotiate several $100,000 off the purchase price. We were able to get the builder to buy our rate down from 8.25% to 4.99. That was about a $35,000 hit to the bottom line. We got $0 lot fee. Now, you got to imagine we're up on a hill looking down on the Vegas Strip. So the lot fee was not supposed to be zero. It was supposed to be 6 figures.
Premium.
And we got all of the upgrades for free.
Amazing.
Because rates were 8%.
That's right.
And the last thing I will highlight is we were not shopping for $1 million property. We were shopping for a property somewhere between $500,000 and $750,000 because rates were 8%. But guess what? I found a motivated seller who happened to be a builder who was able to give me $1 million house with a payment below a $500,000 house.
Amazing. Oh
so
my God.
Again,
that's all of your experience, Michael, led you to that great deal. That's amazing.
Absolutely. Again, that's what I want people to realize. If you are an investor, you should not care about the rate, right? I call it the cost of capital. In fact, I've said this many times and we'll say it here. I wish rates were 10%. I mean that.
Yeah.
Right? Because if rates are 10%, what happens?
Demand.
Yeah, exactly. Well, demand will crater. Yeah, demand will crater. No one will buy. Supply will stack up. And you know what else happens? Motivated sellers start raising their hand.
Yep.
Help me.
And that's what happened last year when we bought that house. It was our rate was over 7 something percent. And we got the seller down, the house we ended up buying it for $200, but we got $30-some thousand or $40,000 off their list price.
Yep.
They paid for my closing costs too, the 2%, because it was an investment property. And they did some repairs. Like, we got a lot of stuff because people were not buying. Now, and also people that are watching, remember this too. If you didn't buy last year when rates were 7-8%, let's say, look at the people who did buy and what rates haven't really gone down enough for enough period of time, right? I mean, they went to the sixes like for a second, you know, they're kind of back up a little bit. But what did I get from buying a house, let's say last year, that other people didn't get that were waiting? Well, I got a tenant to pay my mortgage payment, to pay my property taxes, to pay my everything for that house, all the repairs that were being done, all that. I'm getting a rent check from them, which pays for all of that. They're paying my mortgage, they're paying my mortgage loan. So I'm receiving income from this time period, from when I bought the house until now. If I had waited, I wouldn't be getting them. So it's not, let's wait for a lower rate. Let's remember all the other benefits of buying now versus waiting that you're not missing out on.
Yeah, the other thing I want to remind people about why I don't mind higher rates, because it drives competition away, is you make your money when you buy. You got a $40,000 discount, which was over 20%. You got closing costs, this, that, the other. But also you have a one-way bet on your cost of capital. What does that mean? You and I have both 30-year debt on the two properties we just spoke about. Guess what happens if rates go to 9%? Nothing.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
But if rates go to, in your case, 5%, if rates go to 4%, in my example, because I have 4.99, we can, if we choose, simply do a rate in term refi and lower our fixed expenses. So it's a one-way bet, which is very, very powerful.
Yeah. And I'll say one thing that I love about always buying now is that you're getting it with today's prices. You're buying with today's money, right? You're not, tomorrow's dollars are going to be worth less than today's dollars. Like I'd rather buy with rather buy today. It's cheaper to buy today than tomorrow in every scenario. So just when you can buy. If the deal makes sense, buy it. Who cares about the rate if the deal makes sense? You can always refinance, like you said, if rates go down. And really, that's the scenario that I'm always hoping for. I'm going to get a good deal now, and with rates are high, with low competition, and the seller's going to pay for my closing costs, and I can lowball them and they'll accept it. And then, hey, and I'm cash flowing. And then, hey, if rates go down, sweet. I already own the property at that price. I paid for it when that was. And I'm not paying the new price of $75,000 more or whatever because I waited for rates to go down. Now the prices are up. It's always a better deal to buy now. Never wait for rates to go down.
Yeah. And again, folks, we're not talking about getting an alligator, negative cash flow, betting on appreciation. No. We're talking about buying a property, cash flows day one with existing debt structure. We're not talking about getting adjustable rate mortgages or short-term debt, 30-year fixed, cash flow day one, bought right, all of that. Your chances of getting a deal like that are best when rates are higher. Let's just break this down. Econ 101. Casey, what happens to demand when rates go from 7 to 5%? What happens to demand?
Well, when rates go from 7 to 5%, you get an increase in demand.
You certainly do. And folks, we have physical evidence. You can go look at the charts from the last 2 years. When rates go down to 6.5, we have now learned this. Demand comes off the sidelines. And if rates go to 6, or dare I forbid, say 5.99, it's going to go batshit crazy.
Oh, yeah. It's going to go crazy. Just like when rates were down before. People were, especially what was wild to me was in the more $1 million plus homes, people were paying hundreds of thousands of dollars over asking price, over appraisal price in cash just to get the deal because of the amount of competition. I'm not looking to fork out more money out of pocket just to win an offer and pay more than the property is worth at the time. That is not anything that I would be looking forward to. And that's exactly what's going to happen if rates go down. We have seeing rates at 7% kind of on average. And if we see rates at low 6% range, and OMG, if it has a 5 in front, it's over.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, let's go to the other side, of Econ 101, and that is supply. So if demand goes up into a world where supply is somewhat fixed, what happens to supply with all this increased demand?
Supply goes down. And then prices go up because there's not enough of them. Just,
Yeah. It's wild. And then the last thing, and the reason why rates up is a good thing for me is motivated sellers, right?
yep.
I will agree with you that motivated sellers are out in the market at all times. But here's the deal. When you're in a market with increased demand, motivated sellers don't raise their hand. If you're in an environment where inventory, like today, is up 32% nationally, and you have days on market going up each and every month, people will eventually raise their hand and say, help me. So trust me when I say you will get your best deals from motivated sellers. And lastly, motivated sellers are best done when there is no demand, and higher rates make that happen. Casey, what are the closing thoughts and where can people find you?
My closing thoughts would be, don't worry what everyone's talking about in the news. Just turn it off. It doesn't matter what's happening with Trump, this or that. It doesn't matter what's happening with tariffs, all these things. If you are just investing long-term, buy and hold properties, tried and true strategy that works, cash flowing property that makes sense, it doesn't matter what's happening. When you have a fixed debt and you have a good loan term, as long as the deal makes sense and it cash flows, it's okay. You don't have to get caught up in the news hype. Just buy a deal that makes sense. It doesn't matter. Frankly, Michael, my friends are in town. I haven't really paid attention to the news in the past couple of weeks. And guess what? My tenants are still paying the rent. Okay. Nothing's changing for me. Does not matter.
Yeah.
So my closing thoughts are that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really amazing that in times of chaos and disturbances, a portfolio with 9 single family homes allows you just to skip the nonsense. You're not worried about it. Cash flow shows up. Real estate moves a lot slower. It doesn't have these ups and downs. And you're like, hey, I got friends in town. I'm going to keep the news off. We're going to go swim and do this, that, the other.
Yep.
I think there's something to be said for having a low stress portfolio of 9 single family homes. It's pretty amazing.
I like the low stress. I love it. Well, thank you, Michael. People can find me every day on YouTube. Videos go out on Wednesday, Brick by Brick Wealth. I got a good one coming up this Wednesday on potential recession, so be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, you can find me on Instagram, Brick by Brick Wealth, and every other place.
There you go, folks. She's back each and every Monday. Talk next week. Later.